So, I'm going to read you some stories about Maharajji from this book, Divine Reality, The Divine Reality of Sri Baba Neeb Karori Maharajji. The book is very hard to get physically. It's very hard to find a copy. So, we made an ebook out of it, and it's available on my website, krishnadas.com, for free. You just have to register, and then you follow the link, and you can download the PDF or get it as an ebook. It's full of gems of stories about Maharajji, and every story invokes his presence so powerfully. It's a really wonderful. The Miracle of Love, which was put together by Ramdas, is also really good. But this book is more from the Indian people. It was written by an Indian man, devotee, and who talked to many of the old devotees and got their stories, which were not available earlier on in Ramdas's book. So it is a little Indian that way, but the stories are extraordinary. And there are many teachings in this book that are so useful and so wonderful and so helpful. Here, I'm going to just read you this quote from Maharajji. Someone once asked, "Isn't it hypocritical to worship God when you are not sincere in your devotion?" Let's forget about not sincere. What if we don't even believe that there is a being like God? Whatever that word means in English to us. Of course, in Hindi and Sanskrit, it has a different connotation, but a supreme being of some kind. So Maharajji answered, if you can't do it with true feeling, and you don't want to do otherwise, then what will you do? Something is better than nothing. To begin with, one may not be entirely sincere, but in due course of time, the thoughts get purified, and the honesty of intention comes by itself. You see, it's just our thoughts and the way we believe all the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves and the world and our daily lives. That's what screws us up. That's what keeps us prisoners in our own minds. So through the worship, the thoughts are purified. The thoughts are we're released from the bondage of thoughts. And even our intention is cleaned and developed and strengthened. Can anyone have a vision of God with the naked eyes? One must have divine sight to visualize Him, and a person only gets it after the purification of thoughts. That's pretty straightforward. Everything we do is based on our thoughts and emotions. Everything we believe, everything we think, every place we go, everything we watch on television, the way we treat other people, it's all based on what we think and believe. And like I always say, you can't think yourself out of a prison that's made of thought. How can we free ourselves? And do we even believe that there is a freedom beyond thinking? I'm not sure. But maybe there is. But what Maharajji says, for becoming pure, for the purification of thoughts, a pious life, bhajan, and spiritual practice are essential. Go on reciting Ram, and one day the true call for Ram will come out, and you will be redeemed. The real Ram will come, because we will finally be able to call out fully from our own hearts. That's what's required. We're asleep. And in our sleep, we're having all these dreams. How do we wake up? The only way to wake up is some kind of practice. And that's what Maharaj is talking about. We go on doing these practices and gradually our aspiration, our intention is purified. And we actually start to overcome our own delusions about who we think we are and what the world is about and what our lives are about. We're all living in these delusions all the time. All the time. 24/7, 365, from birth till death, and who knows what happens after that. So now is the time to do something about it. But first, you have to recognize that we are asleep, and we are on automatic, and we are in reaction mode. How do we free ourselves from that? So, let's read some of these stories. I just blasted through the book. I didn't really think too much about what I was picking, but here's one talking about what we're talking about. Kishan Lal Shah was a teacher from Ramgarh, Nainital. He often visited Kenchi to have Baba's darshan. His devotion was such that Baba was both his guru and God. In spite of his deep faith, he was feeling depressed. He was disturbed by the evil seen in the world and by his own lack of spiritual progress. This is back in the 60s. Talk about the evils in the world. Look what's going on these days. So one day he went to Kenchi with the thought that he would discuss the matter with Maharajji. When he arrived, he saw Baba sitting on one end of the wooden bridge over the river. He went to him and bowed reverently. And before he could ask anything, Baba said, "You see others trapped by illusion. Narad and Bharata." Narad is the great devotee of Vishnu, and Bharata was Ram's brother. Narad and Bharata were entrapped by Maya. These great sages were trapped by it. So what is there to say about others? Well, Kishan Lal felt there was no need to question Baba after that. On a different occasion, he went to Baba with innumerable questions on spirituality. He greeted Baba, who was lying in his room, but he could not think of which question to ask. Baba selected one important question from the unexpressed ones and answered it without being asked. Baba said, "This temple and whatever is seen by the human eye are illusion. What can be done about it?" This led to other doubts and questions in Kishan Lal's mind. Baba again answered them without being asked. He said, "Delusion makes everything seem real." Then Kishan Lal thought, well, there has to be a way out. Baba answered, "Attachment is only dispelled by His grace." Well, how can one obtain His grace, came to Shah's mind. And Baba said, constant repetition of God's name, even without feelings of devotion, in anger or lethargy, brings out His grace. Once this is understood, there's no room for any misgivings. So once again, Maharajji says, through the repetition of the name, everything is accomplished. He said this over and over. He never asked us to meditate. He never required us to do seva in order to stay in the temple. The only thing he wanted to do is hear us sing the name and repeat the name. And that's how we developed our practices of chanting. He liked it. So we wanted to please him and we wanted to spend time with him. And so we started singing. And he would ask us to hang out and sing. So it worked. We got what we wanted and he got to hear the name. And 50 years later, we're still singing. It wasn't like he said, keep singing. We're just doing it. It just happens. It's a miracle the way things happen. So once again, constant repetition of God's name. That's any of the names, Rama, Krishna, Kali, Durga, Shiva, Ganesh, any of the names of the great saints. Once this is realized, there's no sense of worrying anymore. Another teaching he gave, he said, the mind, bound by the physical body, has its limitations. A meditative state of mind must be acquired gradually, or there is a risk of becoming insane. It's true that concentration imparts an insight that can lead to self-realization. But for those who remember God and serve living beings, meditation and other kinds of ritual worship are not necessary. Remembering God, this means the repetition of the name, and cultivating the seva bhav, the spirit of service, are easy methods to progress on the spiritual path. Maharajji knew, he could tell what we were qualified for, what we were capable of. He didn't demand us to do things that were beyond our ability. You know, one time I asked Siddhi Ma, I said, Ma, should I meditate or should I sing? She said, what do you like to do? Duh. But the idea that singing was good for me, you know, was hard to accept. That I'd be doing anything that was good for me. You know, that's something I wasn't accustomed to. She said, Krishna, she said, in 40 years with Maharajji, not once did he ask me to meditate. He asked me to repeat the name, to do japa, repetition of the name. And she said, Maharajji said, the more subtle, higher states of consciousness can't be brought about by the use of your personal, egocentric will. But when you're ready, they arise on their own. And you prepare yourself through the repetition of the name and through seva, service. So that's very interesting because, you know, these days people are teaching meditation and it's become a really big thing. The question is whether it's really going to work the way we would imagine we want it to work. There's a very well-known Lama who very critical of a lot of the meditation teaching practices that go on. Because he says the motivation that most people have to learn meditation, mindfulness, etc., is to have less stressful lives, to be better at business, to be better at relationships, to be better at getting the things you want. And he says, that's not what it's really about. So it's very interesting, this subtle, because we want to be happy, but we want that happiness to last. And real happiness doesn't come and go. It's actually our own true nature. And so how do we find that? That's what's really important. So Siddhi Ma said, in 40 years, Maharajji never asked me to meditate. And he said that those higher states will arise within as we're ready for them, through service and the repetition of the name. Now, there are a lot of teachings out there, and there are a lot of teachers, and there are a lot of good teachers, and really wonderful teachings. But you know, and I take teachings wherever I find teachings that feel right to me. I like to participate. But when it comes down to it, what we have is Maharajji. We have him, we have his life and his teachings, and the teachings are treat other people the way you would like to be treated. Serve others. Don't think about yourself all the time. And repeat the name. And the grace will come. That's what we have. That's the bottom line. And it's not very fancy. It's not, it's very simple. But it's what he has given us. Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, 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 Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhaj Ram, Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman. Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman. Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman. Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Ji Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram,
ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahadev bhajara Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahadev bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahadev bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahadev bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahadev bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
bhajalo ji Hanuman, bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahadev bhajaram Shri Rama Ram, bhajalo ji Hanuman,
Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman. Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman. Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman. Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman. Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Bhaj Lord Hanuman, Mahavir, Bhaj Ram, Shri Ram Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman,
Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman,
Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Mahavir Bhajaram, Shri Rama Ram, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman, Bhajalo ji Hanuman.